There's no better way to send all of us into SummerSlam in Cleveland, where we'll be doing the show this weekend too, by the way, than talking to an absolute legend, a 7-time WWE Women's Champion and a WWE Hall of Famer, and the subject of this Sunday's WWE Legends on A&E, airing at 5 p.m. Pacific here locally in Vegas. I am talking about the one, the only Trish Stratus. How are you, love?
I am great. Thank you. Thank you for that lovely introduction, Adrian.
Oh, it's well deserved. And look, as we start, and as we start this interview off the ground, I just want to clarify, this is a hot take that I've had that I haven't said out loud yet. But now that you're here, I feel more comfortable and I feel like you can back me up. You know what I'm saying? So,
okay, let's go for this. What is this?
Can we clarify that The Rock got the playbook to return as the final boss and get some feelings off of his chest as a legend returning? He got that from you, right?
I mean, obviously, right? He watched what I did and was like, well, I want to do that too, right? And then, went ahead and did it.
No, it was a beautiful thing seeing both of you guys doing what you did. And we'll get into all of that. And of course, I think one of the favorite things that I love about these projects that A&E does is that they do it fantastically. It doesn't matter how big of a fan you are. If you watch it, you're going to find a gem or something you didn't know. But right. For you, as being the subject of this, it kind of forces you to look back on your career and everything in the entire journey. For you in this process, what was the favorite part of making this?
Well, we went way deeper than I've ever gone. So that's for sure. And I think it's funny because the Trish Stratus fans know there's been, ever since my home video came out in, I don't know, was it 2004, 3 or 4 or something? Ever since it came out, or maybe it was before that, because ever since it came out, people were like, okay, where's part 2? Because it was sort of like it just touched on me like, ta-da, here's Trish Stratus. But then I had like the whole heel run and I had the whole end of my career, and the retire. So we never went back to it. And people still to this day, like when they come with this, sometimes VHS, okay, my friend, and they say, they're like, oh man, we always waited for part 2. And it's really funny. So here's the long awaited part 2. And this thing is so robust and goes so far deep. It's, I love it. I'm really happy with it. Watching it back, it's always nerve wracking because you're like, eek, I want to make sure the story's told right. And it was, as you mentioned, A&E does a fantastic job. But, you watch and you see your friends and your colleagues talk about you and talk about, you at work and how they influenced you in your career and as a friend. And as a person, and that's what's neat, is you don't actually get those tidbits or those sound bites nowadays. Like, I was thinking how back in the day, I feel like the fans really, really knew Trish Stratus because we had, the home videos, we had these, Confidential, that show that we was on, we had magazines and we had these outlets or even the Divas videos, we had these outlets where people really could take we knew the performer, sure. But, luckily for us, I wasn't only this, BITCH, like, or whatever stage of performer I was at that point, but you could actually have a little peek at like the person behind the performer with these things. And so this is nice to go back now and really get a peek behind the performer because I've had these new fans who have weren't even alive back in the day, and so now they get to really see a chance to get to know me, but also just my fans who've been following me for so long. It's going to go a little bit deeper than you've ever seen. And I love it. I'm really happy with the way they did it. And it's really fun to watch and to look back on the career as a whole. And then really appreciate also the opportunities and the interactions and the paths that I've been able to take.
And you mentioned the newer fans who might not know of your previous career. They might not also know about WWE Home Video. Shout out to it. RIP. For those that collected the VHS and the DVDs, they'd stack them up because there'd be a picture. So they'd make you buy every pay-per-view. Genius marketing. But
amazing.
For me getting to interview you and some of the legends that we've had on, like, I love this because now it gives me an excuse to go throughout your career and pick out these special moments and things that I've always wanted to ask you. And I apologize if it's been asked a lot or not. But first and foremost, obviously, entrances are very important to a wrestler coming out. And we have the Stone Cold, the glass breaking, Undertaker with the gong. You have the laugh, the giggle. Whose idea was it started off with that?
Well, I definitely said I want something like like Undertaker's. I want something that grabs you first. You're like, oh, it's coming. She's coming. She's coming. And so that was what we came up with because it's actually, it just feels right. It feels like, very part of my personality. So the Giggle was born, and I just wanted something that kind of kicked off it. You know what I mean, in a nice way.
And is it true you're the one who pushed for Little Kim?
Yeah, I mean, I literally listen. I suggested her, never thinking we'd get her. Like I was like, I don't know. I mean, bucket list. Let's go for Lil Kim. I did not think we'd actually get Lil Kim. So yeah, we got Lil Kim. I was like, what? Like it was pretty. This is like, you think about Attitude Era stuff, right? Like look at the stuff we got, like back in the day. You know what I mean? So that was a super. Back before there was collabs. That was a hell of a collab. So pretty cool. I got her, and we've spoken. We've met a couple times and we've spoken about it, and so we have that little connection, which is always cool as well.
Are you like a hip hop head? Is hip hop in the playlist back then or
Yeah.
now?
Oh, well, for sure back then, because like that hip hop was like my playlist for working out was like, now I'm like kind of more yogic and breathing. And like, I'm like, oh, sometimes I don't even listen to music when I work out. I literally just work out through my breath work, which is so exciting. But back in the day, it was like, yeah, it was either, like AC/DC or it was, hip hop, you know what I mean? Kind of thing. So yeah, it was definitely part of my playlist back then, but I felt like that was the vibe of me and who I was at that point. And like, that was the energy that I wanted to bring when I was coming out. So yeah, so that was my suggestion. I'm like, I don't know, Lil Kim. Oh, you got her. Cool. Let's do it.
And I'm going to be mature because I know you're from Toronto. I'm not going to bring up Drake. We're just going to move on. Because people are like, why didn't you ask about that? He took his L. Everyone loses in life. You got to bounce back. It happens. Throughout your career, right? Obviously, you've gotten the chance to go up against a lot of people, a lot of hard hitters. Like you have China, Jazz, Jacqueline, Victoria. Who was like the stiffest person in the ring, or like the one that ooh, my body's not gonna feel that great the day after?
Oh, that's 100% Jacqueline Moore, and she knows it. We spoke about it before. I'm like, girl, like she knows. Yeah, but I know, and it was like I was like, is this like tough love thing? Because she was so nice, so cool. And like I always, and because I was brand new, right? Like I was super green and we were on, house shows together. And I just would like, I remember always saying to her, like, I just don't want you to have a crappy match because I suck. You know what I mean? So it made me work super hard. And then I'd be like, and then I come back and I was like, oh my God, like, she punched my face. I'm like, I was kind of so that hurt, but I was like, wait, is this receipt? Is this tough love? Is this like, no, welcome to the business, kid? But that's just how Jackie works. And she's amazing. But I learned so much from her. And I also felt like just because I was being put on the ring in the ring with her and on the tour with her, I was like, I need to step it up because I can't make this woman look like crap in the ring. So yeah, shout out to her. She whooped my ass in a very good way.
I love that you're like, just be mean to me off camera then too. If you're gonna do this in the ring, this doesn't make any sense. Mind games emotionally, I don't understand.
Hey, that's part of me, like, that's me as a newbie trying to figure it out. I was like, okay, wait, like these are the scenarios, I had to figure that stuff out, but it was good. This is healthy learning processes, right?
Yeah, and I like how even with that question and your answer, you were bringing up like, yo, I know my limitations right now, and I'm not trying to mess it up for you. And one thing that I admire, getting to the point that you got to was incredible, right? But also in you coming back in these moments that you've had after you got inducted into the Hall of Fame, like whether it's interviews, and I see that you proudly wear the Hall of Fame ring, and you've talked about, I'm coming back for a purpose. I'm not just doing it to do it. It's not going to be no battle royal, no this, no that. Like there has to be a purpose. And then the stories that you've told, the rivalries, the things that you did with Becky, like it was like, it's very inspiring to know how much you care about that presentation. And obviously you came in as an outsider, right? So I guess my question, sorry to be long winded, is why did you and why do you care so much? Where does that passion come from?
It's just something that I've applied, like, no matter what, like every facet of my life, it's driven by this, like a desire to challenge myself, to, apply the passion that I have. Like, initially I was pre-med but like, when I say this to people, I'm like, I was studying to become a doctor. But like, when I tell you my childhood, like I loved everything. Like I worked at medical related fields. I volunteered at the hospital. I, was around my uncle who was a doctor, so everything I do, I invest in like heavily. And so it's the same thing with wrestling. I mean, and it's funny because you said you come in from the outside and you seem very well versed in me. And I love that. And it's like, I was completely an outsider. However, what I did have was like, I came in as a true fan, right? Like watching it since I was a kid, coming in, knowing in my mind, like, I've done like a ton of body slams, like, okay, I'm like, my aunt's bed, that kind of thing, right? But it's like, I knew how to wrestle before I could wrestle kind of thing, or I thought I did. And maybe that's why I picked it up or whatever. But I did know that I also feel like there's a little bit of, proving myself in a lot of the fields I went into, whether it was a female, and back in the day, even just being a female in the math, calculus club, whatever it is, like there wasn't as many females in these clubs or in this. I was a biology kinesiology student. There wasn't as many females, even in like fitness world, it was a male dominated industry. We went in and infiltrated it with the fitness modeling was a new industry and we infiltrated it, but you had to prove that like we deserve some pages as well because we train as hard and we put the hours in and we dedicate, to our craft. And then of course, again, coming to the boys club, like we are asking for a portion of the show, but we need to deliver. Do we deserve it? Can we deliver? And can we hold the attention of fans? And can we, do what this product is? It's not just about, of course, there's stuff that some women did and what they expected from us at one point. But if we were to show them that like we deserve this segment of the show or this amount allotted to us, we had to prove ourselves, And so I just feel like me having to always prove myself like to this day, right? Even like me going into acting afterwards, like, showing that I deserve to be on set. I wanted to do the due diligence, which is study like crazy, study my craft, go and prepared. And as you might know, but preparedness meets opportunity is my kind of motto in life. So that's kind of what it is. And so even coming back, believe me, it wasn't about, let me just, oh yeah, this is on a whim, let's go do this thing. Before I even agreed, I was like, I got in the ring, I did my work, I made sure I could deliver. I'm not going to go back and give you 60%. I want to, as long as I can give you 100%, then let's go. You know what I mean? And you never know until you really get in the ring. But the training I did and everything leading up to it, and then looking into like, what will this storyline look like? I've always been very storyline driven and like thinking it's important for the characters. And that's, if you look back at my career, much of my things that you remember, the rivalries are because of that cool, like, Jazz and I had a story, Mickey and I had a story, Lita and I had a story that lasted 6 years, Jericho and I had a story, so a lot of my rivalry, so to speak, are storyline driven. So coming back, I was like, what is the story with Becky and I? What could we tell? What could be the, like, this versus this? What is the thing? You know what I mean? So, but I've always liked to craft and sort of produce these moments and something for people to remember, go back and remember it because of the stuff that was driven by stories and character driven things.
Again, super inspiring, and thank you for that answer.
And mine was longer winded than your question, so
we're competing with each other. No,
I love it. I love it.
This one will be a quick one, and you mentioned Mickie James. Whose idea was it, the Royal Rumble in 2020, I believe, to have that face off in the ring with you two? Paying homage to the history.
Well, the cool thing is, here's the story. It was 2018, by the way. But there was zero Trish Stratus, Mickie James interaction. So there was the match, and it's roughly laid out. You'll see, people there sign their numbers. So Trish Stratus and Mickie James were not going to have any interaction whatsoever. And we were like, whoa, we can't. Like, it was a hard thing because, don't forget, we're out of the picture, right? There's the current crop. These are the girls. They're all on top. We're being invited back as guests. We're super blessed and humbled to be putting, dipping our toes into the current landscape of the women and, being part of this historical moment. But we're like, I really feel like this thing. And we had to talk it out too. We're like, before we go fight for this thing that we did, I don't know, 10, 15, whatever years ago, I think it's important, right? Wait, okay, it was 10, so 12 years ago, right? We're like, I think it's important. I really think they're going to remember it. Like, we were pretty confident that but, also the fact that ooh, what if they don't? What if they're like, yeah, okay, whatever, Trish Stratus, we don't know who you are. You know what I mean? Like, what if the fans did not remember that when these two face off, there's a little something, so we decided, yes, I think the work we did back there was important and people will remember and think this is a special moment that when we get together, oh, here we go. And so we pitched it, and boy, we had to fight hard. We got met with a lot of people. Like, there was quite a few people that were like, it's 15 years ago. And I'm like, yeah, but it's wrestling. Like we remember things from 15 years ago. Like we are very nostalgic as a fan base, right? So we were very steadfast and confident that it was important. We fought for it. We got it in there. We got her moved up. Like we had to like rejig a bunch of things to make that moment happen. And I'll tell you, if you watch closely, there's definitely an expression that her and I share. There's like, oh, okay, it's working good. Thank God. A little bit of that happened, you know?
Oh, that's a beautiful thing. You went viral before the cage match against Becky at Payback. You walked up to a fan who was saying some mean things to you, and you let him know how you feel. I just want to know, like, because I can't imagine like what you have to go through, the messages you get, the things that people scream at you. How therapeutic was it to just, really let it out your chest and be like, hey man, shut the You're
gonna lose, Trish. You're gonna lose to Rebecca.
Adrian, I honestly was, it was like an outer body experience. I was not me, I was Trish Stratus and she was about to, beat some ass in a cage match. And that's who came to the ring. Because afterwards, like my team was like, they're like, oh, that moment with the fan is going viral. And like, oh, what moment? And they're like, before you went in, when you talked to that fan, I was like, I don't have zero recollection of that. First of all, I was concussed after, I don't know if anybody knows that, but I was concussed after that cage match. So I didn't remember anything anyway. But later on, I was like, what did I say? And then I watched back, I was like, oh my, like, honestly, like, if you know me, it's kind of like, oh, I mean, I'm sassy for sure, but I was like, oh, I did I do that? I'm very camera aware. I'm very, PC about things. You know what I mean? So yeah, I was like full 100% into character. And I was like, that is, Trish Stratus was like, yeah, that is what she said because she was about to show everyone what's up, So yeah, that was a real character moment. And I was like, I don't know if I was like method acting, but I was in.
the kids call it cinema. And I know we have to wrap up. So I got two more questions to ask you. But before then, just a reminder, Trish Stratus, the focus of this Sunday's A&E WWE Legends. It'll air 5 p.m. Pacific here in Las Vegas. It'll close out SummerSlam weekend in my hometown of Cleveland. But before we get you out of here, I want to ask, a lot's been made about the women's revolution, the evolution, and the barriers that are being broken. To me, it's been fascinating outside of the ring. When you hear about the deals that Charlotte signed and Becky signed and Mercedes Moné, or Becky with the rumors and the contract and how big it's going to be, Naomi Mercedes kind of being like, hey, I don't like this. This isn't for me, so I'm going to leave. And Naomi specifically leave, prove herself, do it on her own, and return back, get the respect, get the love from the fans too. It's been a really cool thing to see outside of course, the main events and all these different things too in the ring. For you, yeah. How have you took to see all this and just everything that's happening?
I mean, gosh, it's we finally got that movement that we wanted, right? We saw the needle move, so to speak, on like where we wanted women to go. And, I can tell you in like 2003, maybe, when we were like, oh, okay, it was, it was like, it was a real I think it was autograph signings. It would be always guys, especially from my fitness days to the WWE days. Then I started seeing more females, and then I started seeing more little girls. And I saw like you could literally see a difference in the fan base. You could see the rise in demographic of the females attending shows. It was a real thing, a tangible thing that we started to be like, oh man, we are making a bit of a difference. And that's when I made a difference, or when I said to myself, I want to change the the preconceived notion of what a female can do in this business. And I decided because I saw it happening and I thought we can. And so, knowing that was the mission, so to speak. And then, leaving the business, having all this great stuff happen, and then coming back and seeing that we did make a difference, that like it has continued. And yeah, there was some times where maybe progress slowed a little and things like that. But yeah, I think it's great. We worked so hard. It's crazy. It's taken so long. But there's still work to be done and places to go still, like we're definitely not equals to the men, in a number of ways. And so, I mean, I think the work is still there, but I mean, it's fine. We are constantly proving ourselves. And that's what kind of like, I think women in society have had to do. And so we're okay with that. We're okay with putting in the work and at the end of the day going, yeah, see, we earned that, and so, yeah, it's a really great place. I'm very happy to see, where the women are at now. And of course, lucky and blessed to be able to go back, like I've said earlier, but to go back in just dip my toes into the waters of the current landscape, where I get a little bit of that as well, and I get to see the stories and see it live, and be a part of that, and it's really great.
No, it's fantastic, and thank you for that answer. And we'll close out with this. In Toronto at Money in the Bank, you had a moment with Tiffany Stratton afterwards at the press conference when she was up there on stage answering questions from the media. They asked her if she wanted to face you. She said she's down for whatever. So now I'm going to ask you, how would you feel about facing Tiffany? Interested at all? A little bit?
I like the little peaked answer. Interested?
1%? 2%?
Hey, listen, I told you I've checked some boxes. When it's time for comeback, it's not about nothing. It's about something, right? It's about a few things. Will the fans be interested? Is this a challenge for me as a performer? Like going back as a heel was a challenge for me as a performer, and something different for the fans. Working with Zoe, check the box of like influencing a different generation or impacting someone else along the way, that kind of thing. And so yeah, I mean, as I'm saying these out loud, is it checking those boxes? There's a few boxes being checked, and again, like I said, if I can go back, not 100%, I will, and I consider it. But I don't know. She keeps running her mouth. I mean, maybe you got to put some people in their place. What can I say, right?
I guess we'll have to see. In wrestling, the story never ends, ladies and gentlemen. Don't believe what Cody said. The story's not over, all right? It's not done. But this Sunday on A&E, 5 p.m. Pacific here in Las Vegas, A&E's WWE Legends, the focus, this Hall of Famer who gave us a lot of time, and we appreciate it, Trish Stratus. I hope my hometown of Cleveland treats you well at WrestleCon, and hopefully I get to meet you there, love. Thank you for the time.
Oh, that's amazing. Please do come and say hi. It was great chatting with you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Adrian.